because I'm still in education, I'm still at sixth form. As I started the campaign and got doing things, there were definitely more people interested in what I was doing. Most of the people who I know, most of my friends and other people in the school couldn't actually vote, but were still definitely interested in everything that was going on. And then when I was elected, and there was a little bit of a hubbub of things afterwards, people were more interested in what was happening, and definitely got more interested in knowing what they could do at a local level. There's been, in the general election campaign, we invited most of the candidates in, and people weren't too keen on the big parties. Jonathan Salt came in as well, and he seemed to be the favourite out of all of the candidates who came in, purely because he was independent. And I think me standing again and raising awareness for independence again, and using the message that you don't need party politics guiding definitely a local level, people were definitely more supportive of independence than any of the parties that stood.
Any others?
Yeah, question for Tony. I was wondering if you had any advice on how independent candidates can get themselves noticed, like get themselves into the public mind.
It's extremely difficult, you know, because they are in isolation, and this is the benefit of the independent network, you know, that there is somebody that they can talk to. We've got an example in this current, the nominations are in and have been published, and we've got a guy that he was a Conservative councillor when he got elected. He then became a member of UKIP, and then he became a member of the Labour Party, and he's standing as in the next elections as a Labour Party candidate. And that guy has actually put his sister and his mother up as independent candidates in his own ward. You know, so he's standing as now, democratically. Can that be right and proper? You know, I've challenged our returning officer and our legal people to say, can this be right? Is this democratic? You know, where is the democratic accountability? But he can do it, you know. And I think for us, we certainly sort of say, and one of the issues were, you know, we're not a party. That was, you know, when I got elected, and when the independents took control of the council the following May, we had to form a party to take control of the council. That was, you know, because you can't take control unless you are formed as a party. So we had to form as a party. And Martin's certainly seen our constitution. It's 4 lines, extremely simple, you know. But the biggest plus on it is that you are elected by the people, as Tom has illustrated there, to represent them and not regional or national policies. This is about localism, and I've on the train coming down done some messages for the candidates, and I've actually said I'm actually pleased that that John is campaigning against my desire to have the Lyndhurst ward, a new development, but he's standing in Lyndhurst ward, the people in Lyndhurst ward saying they don't want this new big development there, you know, and he's campaigning for the people, and of course he will argue with me if I am elected that this is not what the people want. And of course in the localism bill again, you know, is it a charter for NIMBYism? Some of the planning policies that, or not policies, planning statements that Mr. Pickles is sending out, is it a charter for NIMBYism, or can we as independents benefit from, you know, localism and locals make the decision in our patches? And so I certainly look forward to the elections, and I honestly believe I've created these single member wards, and independents did say, well, that's a Labour you know, you're giving the chance back to the Labour candidate. I said, well, no, it's your chance. You've got the chance to knock on the doors and say, what are your 3 major issues in this ward that I live in? And I think that's the big issue for independents. If you live in the patch, you know, that you represent is a big issue. And you know, whereas we currently say, I've given you an illustration about a Labour candidate and his family standing, and they just ship them round to what they consider to be safe seats, and there are no safe seats. You know, we've got nobody as young as Tom, but we've got youngsters now. I think the average age of independence, and I'm one of those that keep it up, but we're now at 43, which is quite young for councillors and these people that continue to protect their sovereignty, because you know they are there by right, and lo and behold, when I was doing some of my manifesto pledges, the administration costs at Mansfield District Council this year are less than they were in 2002, because the Labour controlled council had the best allowances in the country, you know, and I chopped, and I think Martin was there, I chopped area assembly chairman, and I got hauled before the standards board because I can't do that, I have to have the independent panel in.
You know, they can put out glossy leaflets, and they can, you know it when election time is on, because you open your door when you get home and you have to push past all the leaflets from all the various parties who you haven't seen out on the streets ever, and you haven't had them coming to you and asking them how to represent, you know, what kind of representation you want. And so they really didn't see any difference between what they'd be doing in the election period and what they're doing all of the time. And I think that's something about independence, is, you know, you can't sit on your laurels, because you aren't going to suddenly have 100,000 leaflets going through the letterboxes of your constituents. But that means that you have to rely upon the fact that they have seen you, that you've been a presence, and a real presence, and that you've been effective.
And these are people who have gotten involved in local politics because they're interested in their local area, and it's that there's a vocational for the vast majority of people that we deal with, if not all, that it's that vocation to their local area. But the other kind of tactics, which also we did a consultation and we did a handbook of helpful hints, etc., for people who are standing as independents. And various tactics of communication came to us. People who go into group areas, who, you know, go and sit in the local pubs to, you know, actually engage with the local people on a group basis, who are in shopping centres, who, yes, they use online activities. Yes, we've got somebody who's actually was nominated as online politician of the year, online councillor of the year, I should say. So yes, online is important. That you know, we have people who have regular radio shows, local radio shows. So
yeah,
there's
columns.
Absolutely
Local
a local media. So there's a various, and also, I mean, a part of the Bell principles is for people to constantly and innovatively communicate and consult with their communities. And there's various ways of things and part of the independent network is for people to learn from each other, and that's part of what today's later event is, in training and networking between. So we are a central hub of, you know, where people can actually learn from each other and actually provide better campaigning. Guys, I'm going to need only because we also need to move on to the next events, next part of our day. Are there any kind of final questions over the next couple of minutes that people might have, or anything? No? Any final thoughts from anybody?
I'd just say that Tony can't say this for himself, but the two most admired people in Mansfield are Rebecca Adlington and Tony Egginton. I sincerely hope he gets re-elected.
Yeah, well, I think on that, and that's quite an interesting one, because, you know, talking about communications and twittering, you know, I mean, it's totally not my scene, but because I said to my 3 young mayors, I said, now what, I want your advice, you know, what do I want to do? And they said, well, go on and call it Mayor Egg. So it's, you know, that's going to, you know, you're Mayor Egg, you're not Mayor Eggington, and you know, it's Mayor Egg, and you want a casual photo on there, and, you know, you don't want to be suited and booted and tied up if you're going to connect with these people, and it's quite interesting, the blogs, because I was conscious that, is it going to be a mischievous use by the Labour Party in particular, who are really trying to get back in control in Manchester? Are they going to abuse the system? But we've got a clever guy on the team that can block out those particular blogs. You know, I don't know how it's done, but, you know, I respond. I tell him how to respond. You know, I just write a little note. I'll say this, and so I'm not a renowned Twitterer, but my daughter, who's almost 30, was quite proud when I said that. You know, I've gone twittering.
Tom, any last words from you?
Yeah, just to wish you the best of luck, and also I do hope there are many people across the country who do see the independents as the only alternative and do vote independent in the coming elections.
All right, wicked.
And Martin, I mean,
Sorry.
Martin can't be there, but Great Yarmouth are running a referendum for the mayor. You probably know that where referendums have been run, I forget what the percentage is of not being successful, but Great Yarmouth is that's really been a hotbed, and it's again the media, you know, the local media, because there's a bit of competition between, I forget what it is, Eastern Daily Press and the other one. So there's a bit of tension between these fighting for readership, and of course I advised them, because my background was heavily involved in the news industry, was get one of them on your side. And of course one of them, the Eastern Counties Daily Press, I think is it. I'm sort of getting emails on an hourly basis, sort of saying what do you do to support this, and we've got a jamboree, I think it is they're calling it, on the 14th of April, Saturday night, in Great Yarmouth, where these independently minded people have got together, and strangely enough, going on the Twitter pages as well, there's quite a lot of the Labour councillors actually support the mayoral system in Yarmouth, and you know, which is, so I think it's going to be a goer. You know.
Cool. All right. Thanks very much for coming. Really appreciate it.